Hello guys, I'm Janmar Sylvester. I'm from Group 4 and I will go discuss something before I discuss the advancing part, so let's go. So what is the role of religious orders in the history of the Philippines and their influence on Spanish colonial rule? Religious orders play a significant role in the history of the Philippines. During Spanish colonial rule, the most prominent orders were the Augustinians, Franciscans, Dominicans, Jesuits, and Recollects. These orders were not only responsible for spreading Christianity and converting the indigenous population, but also for establishing school, hospital, and other social institutions. So for the advancing part, the impact of Cavite Munity on the relationship between Filipinos and Spaniards. The Cavite Munity of 1872 has a significant impact on the already strained relationship between Filipinos and Spaniards during the colonial period. The Munity, which was led by Filipino soldier and worker in the Spanish colonial arsenal in Cavite, was fueled by various grievances such as unfair treatment, corruption, and discrimination. The aftermath of the Munity saw a brutal crackdown by the Spanish authorities, with hundreds of Filipino imprisoned, tortured, and executed. This further fueled resentment and anti-Spanish sentiment among the Filipino population. The injustices and persecution faced by Filipino who opposed Spanish colonial rule. Opposition to Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines was met with various forms of injustices and persecution. Filipino who oppressed resistance of dissent were often subjected to harsh punishment, including imprisonment, torture, and even execution. One of the most infamous cases of persecution was the execution of national hero Jose Rizal. In 1896, Rizal was arrested and sentenced to death by firing squad for his writing that criticized Spanish colonial rule and advocated for Filipino independence. His execution sparked outrage and further fueled the Filipino resistance against Spanish domination. Additionally, those who participated in uprisings and rebellions against Spanish rule were brutally suppressed by the colonial government. The most notable example in the Philippine Revolution of 1896, led by Andres Bonifacio, which aimed to overthrow Spanish rule and establish an independent Filipino Republic. The impact of long-term effect of government Izquierdo's policies on Filipino-Spanish relation and development of nationalism. Governor Izquierdo's policy had a significant impact on Filipino-Spanish relation and the development of nationalism in the Philippines. One of the key aspects of his administration was his implementation of oppressive measures and crackdown on dissent, which led to increased tension between the Filipino people and the Spanish colonial government. The imposition of heavy taxes, forced labor, and restriction on civil liberties under Governor Izquierdo's rule fueled resentment among the Filipino population. Many Filipinos began to see the Spanish colonial government as oppressive and exploitative, leading to growing sense of nationalism and desire for independence. So what is the impact of the persecution and injustices on the Filipino people's sense of identity and resistance against colonial rule? The persecution and injustices inflicted on the Filipino people under colonial rule had a profound impact on their sense of identity and their spirit of resistance against their oppressors. The brutal treatment, exploitation, and marginalization experienced by the Filipino fueled a sense of anger, disillusionment, and a strong desire for freedom and independence. The colonial authorities, particularly the Spanish and the later American power, imposed discriminatory Tory policies suppressed the Filipinos' cultural practices and language and deprived them of their rights and resources. So for the summary, is that the harsh and unjust treatment of prominent Filipinos by the military authorities under the influence of religious order led to worsening of relation between the Filipino people and the Spanish colonizer, the accusation of desire for independence, and the severe punishment inflicted on those who opposed the friars only served to fuel resentment and resistance among the Filipino population. The wound caused by this event would take many years to heal, and the action of the government in the perpetuating the memory of this injustice only further alienated the people. Ultimately, this period of persecution and repression only served to strengthen the resolve of the Filipino people to fight for their rights and seek independence from Spanish rule. Thank you for listening, and let's move on to the next reporter. Thank you.